That man.
Not much, man.
So you got here yesterday?
Oh no, Thursday night.
Dang. So you just did PR stuff yesterday.
Yeah, it was pretty easy, man. Just one interview at like noon last night. Well, yesterday.
Was it with the news or who was it with?
Some news, local news, like they always are. But this one, man, it was easy. I mean, just stand there, talk to somebody for like 30 minutes. Wasn't bad.
Man, did you like walk around there? And
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Got here before the dirt was in. I never seen that before. It was just bare floor.
yeah.
Then they bring the dirt in,
Was
just
it?
spreading it out.
I wonder if they have like a retract because this is the Grizzlies play here. So I wonder if
Yeah,
it's like a retractable. Like I wonder what they do with the.
yeah. I don't know.
I know like AT&T Stadium, like that entire, like the actual, with the turf or whatever they're playing on retracts.
Yeah, I seen that during the NFL, well, the Super Bowl.
Oh, they retracted it and
Yeah,
then did the
during
halftime
halftime,
show?
and then yeah, like every day they have to take it out, then like water it, make sure it gets enough sunlight. Man, that's crazy.
That is.
I want to be the guy who grows the grass.
Yeah.
I like that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. This is probably one of my top five favorite arenas is Finish Arena.
Yeah,
I've done awful here. As far as riding, I don't think I've ever rode a bull here. But as far as the arena, like I love it.
yeah,
It's one of the coolest. I don't know if like just like growing up, like I was more into sports. So
yeah.
like watching, going to the NBA stadiums and going to AT&T Stadium. But we went to Sacramento and that was the King Stadium, and I still
Yeah.
saw the. I don't know if like the NBA stadiums. Okay, so hockey stadiums, they're small like NBA ones,
Yeah.
but the NBA's they're like built super high. So it's like close together but super high instead of like spread apart like a football stadium.
Yeah, it's like two more layers, that you can go up,
Go up,
which
yeah.
is, I mean, a whole more people. It's pretty
Yeah, for
cool.
sure.
Yeah,
But you still feel like everybody's on top of you.
yeah.
It's more like, which I have never rode at Albuquerque, but the pit, that's kind of what I imagine the pit's like.
Man, I feel like that would be cool, man. A little bit tiny arena, people stacked on top of each other.
Yeah,
Oh
and
man.
you're underneath them, so it's like
Yeah,
literally they're over top of you.
yeah. You ever been?
Unless you get hurt, like Cody Jesus, who like messed his groin up,
Yeah,
and there's no way to get out of the pit outside of walking up it. So I'll never forget watching that video of him like trying to get up out of there. I'm like, man, that has to suck.
yeah. That's You ever been to Nimrod?
So I went to Nimrod before they built it, the year before they actually
Yeah.
built it. But I heard it's crazy too.
Oh yeah. I mean, I ain't been back in a few years, but just people have their legs dangling on top of you while you're getting on your bull.
No joke. So
Yes.
it's like right above the chutes.
Oh yeah, people were everywhere, man.
Huh.
Yeah, I ain't been there in a while, but
Yeah, that's nuts. No, that's
seems cool.
what's your probably top five, or what are some of the arenas you probably like the most? I mean, you're big into you kind of grew up in sports a little bit
Yeah,
with like
yeah,
football. I
yeah.
never got
Football.
into like the collegiate anything, but I don't know if
Uh,
we do any
I'm
college stadiums.
yeah, I'm a big college fan. I mean, I wish we rode on like college football fields, but man, no way, just because they take so much care of the grass. But
And they're not retractable.
yeah, not nearly close. But in Bonifay, Florida, there's this like high school football arena, well, field or whatever, and they have rodeos on it.
Oh no.
They don't tear up the ground or anything like that. They're literally bucking bulls on grass. So it's
Yeah, I
interesting.
bet that is. I
Yeah,
bet that's crazy.
I mean,
I remember you telling me about that in high school
yeah,
or in college. And then you actually rode on that one at that baseball diamond too, didn't you?
yeah. I think Maryland, maybe.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That looks cool. I've
Yeah,
never rode on one, but it kind of a cool setup.
yeah. They just put the tarp down and then grass because it's, well, not grass but dirt down. I mean, it's like artificial turf.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, it's not like real,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Huh.
it's pretty cool though. Still.
And then last year you did that one same people put it on, I believe, off of the where is that at? Ocean City,
Oh
Maryland.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They did it right there in the parking lot.
Yeah, I
I
bet that
mean,
was cool.
yeah. I mean, it was hot. It was expensive to go there. It was like $800 for a hotel.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah. So you won or you lost money?
Well, I didn't make a
And I,
dime.
yeah. Well, and I don't know what taxes are like in Maryland. I know in
Yeah,
California it's freaking crazy. Like
Yeah, for
Subtract like 4,500 if you win.
yeah, wow, yeah, for like a 3-day freaking event, had to pay entry fees for 3 days.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a cool place though.
Yeah, it was a cool venue to go to.
Yeah,
Yeah, no joke.
I mean, I imagine it would have been good if you would have won.
Yeah.
Probably been better. But
Yeah. AT&T. That one was cool. AT&T was probably one of my favorite, but I thought it was going to be different than what it was.
yeah,
It was almost like you were riding outside because of how big it was. So even though like that year, it was like, I mean, it had to have been, 60 to 80,000 people in the stands
yeah,
because it was pretty much sold out. That was, I think, the first year they did it there. And then, but because of how it's set up, you're so far from people. So there may be, 40,000 more people in the stands, but when you're that far from them, it just feels like you're at outdoor bull riding.
yeah.
So there wasn't, whereas like those ones that are compact like that, you just more energy.
So is that where they're going to have the World Finals?
No. So they, I believe they built, is it Dickies maybe?
Yeah, Dickey Stadium.
I don't know. They built a stadium that they're doing it in.
Yeah,
I rode in that one. It was the first time and it was just a regular UTB. And it's kind of like a mini version.
yeah,
So like the setup, it kind of reminds me of AT&T Stadium, but kind of smaller.
yeah. I got you. Yeah, that'll be interesting. So man, this whole podcast thing,
Yeah.
just pretty excited.
Oh yeah, man, dude. We do this all the time anyway.
Yeah, pretty much just in the middle of the night driving down the road.
Driving down the road, like,
Yeah.
why not do it?
Especially like last weekend. Oh man, that was rough.
And
On the way back.
yeah, that was bad.
Yeah,
That was bad rough. To the point where we really should have slept a little bit more.
yeah, yeah. That's for sure.
So, it's a problem when it's like 3:30 a.m. There's two guys in the car, and one of you really needs to be sleeping, but you're just both in it.
Yeah,
You're just
just
like,
not.
no, we don't need to. And you know that 7 o'clock hits, and
Yeah.
you're both gonna regret one of you not sleeping.
Sun start coming up. Yeah.
You really want the conversations to die off around midnight. That way somebody goes to sleep. And then 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, they've got 4 hours of sleep and they can take up the wheel.
Yeah. But it was kind of hard because the whole UFO thing and nukes.
Does it matter? No. No, it probably doesn't. In fact, it was probably some political thing where it was just trying to distract us. But
Yeah.
at 2 o'clock in the morning, when people are talking about UFOs, I mean,
It's kind of hard to go to sleep.
it's kind of hard not to just talk about what in the world,
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
It's a sit. Yeah, it's funny.
probably, it's always the meaningless conversations. At that time, it's the
Yeah.
meaningless conversations that keep you awake.
Pretty much. Yeah. But yeah, the whole podcast thing and everything, got a bunch of guys lined out, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. So next week we're probably gonna talk to Cody Casper, which outside of going to events, it's not like, because Cody, I don't, is he living in Oklahoma now?
I have no idea.
I'm not sure. I know he was up in like Washington. I always tell him he's from Canada,
Yeah.
and he's always going to the other deal. So we're kind of hitting the East Coast.
Yeah.
And next weekend, both of them are on the East Coast.
Hampton and Massachusetts.
Yeah,
So
Virginia, Massachusetts, and then Knoxville, and then Bangor, Maine, Dayton, and then after Bangor and Dayton, I don't think there's any more on the East Coast for the rest of the year.
yeah.
We've been on the East Coast all year. We've been
Yeah.
getting on Mike Miller's bulls, Cornwell, and then the bull teams.
Yeah. Farthest west we went was Denver.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah. I went to Sacramento.
yeah, well, you and all we crossed
That was
to the coast.
But everything else has been East Coast pretty much. They've been on the West Coast. It's just been
Yeah,
one
which
day
is
events.
and we
I don't
had
want to go to Portland, Oregon if we can go to South Carolina.
Yeah, ain't no way. That's way too far, man. But especially when you got options.
Yeah, man, it's pretty cool though. Kind of like where this sport has taken us, like Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Dude, that was wild.
I mean, that was interesting for sure. I mean, I would go back. Had to pay me more.
Yeah,
go back,
definitely an experience, especially like I think the biggest thing was what the expectations versus the reality. So
Yeah.
we expected, like this was gonna be like, the king was inviting us, like, royalty type stuff, Riyadh, and then we end up an hour and a half from Riyadh in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, middle of the desert.
Sleeping in like these little trailer things and getting ready in a tent. Like,
yeah. Instead of just a normal outlet and socket, people have got wires sticking into the wall. Sketchy.
Yeah, you go on a trip and you'd go to like those little, cities over there, and it was like you were playing Call of Duty. Like that, those are the kind of town it was. I felt like I had seen every single city in Call of Duty.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know if they were the same ones or if they just all looked that way, but
little kids driving cars down the road, like, man, we're going to die.
like 8 to 10, yeah, and they're just like, oh yeah, you can drive, and nobody, like, if you get in a wreck, it's nobody's fault. So you're playing chicken with
Just
people.
kind of drive off.
Yeah, everybody's driving on the highway straight at each other, and it's just whoever moves.
Yeah.
And if you get in an accident, it's nobody's fault. So like,
yeah, that's wild. But I mean, I would go back and just have to pay me a lot more money.
yeah. I mean, it was cool, like getting to hang out, which we hung out with, our interpreter, but the Egyptians. That was actually pretty cool. We hung out with them quite a bit.
Yeah, and man, it's amazing how fast they built that. Like, we show up, nothing's done, and all of a sudden, like 2 days, the whole thing's put together. They build roads, everything. I'm like, man, these people are wild.
Yeah, they built like a little city right there, and the bleachers and everything. Like they added on, it probably held 2,000 to 3,000 people, and I don't think more than 150 people ever showed up.
Yeah, the biggest night might be 150.
And the first few times we rode, it was literally just like 5 people out there.
Yeah, like, oh man, this is going back this whole time, but I don't know.
And the bulls over there, man. I bet that was a rude awakening, getting flown all the way across the world.
Yeah. Freezing
freaking
cold at night, and then burning hot in the daytime. You're just out there in the sand. Yeah, it sucks.
They maybe look good at first, but by the end of it, man, they were
bucking them like every day. I'm like, oh.
And I know that Kurt Check, I know he was trying to, feed them and everything. That was one of the biggest things for him, because that was kind of, that's his job as a contractor, is like trying to make sure these bulls are kind of taken care of the best you can in that situation. But
yeah, be rough, man.
Who knows whatever happened to those bulls? We still don't know. Oh, we do know. They definitely got eaten. There's no way that they didn't eat them, because that goat. Everybody's like, where did this goat go to?
Where did the goat go? Oh man, what do you mean? You guys want some? We didn't know you guys were keeping them. Like, no, but after feeding them for 2 weeks and finally giving them gentle down, I mean, grew attached.
You grow attached to them,
and they're eating them. I'm like, man.
Which is a good thing they never put kids on those suckers. Those were like, I've never seen a sheep like that. That was like some wild sheep goat freaking out in the desert.
Some nomad.
Like, mean. Like, I mean, you even go buy it and they're trying to freaking run you over.
Yeah, they're different.
Yeah.
I guess they look at their animals a little different.
That would have been some sort of show, putting a bunch of, little Saudi kids on it.
Man, probably one of my favorite parts about going to Saudi is when we're playing paintball. Like all the Americans versus these people. I'm like, America.
Saudi Arabia versus America in paintball. And it was it was weird because they don't do paintball like us. So, in America, if you get shot, you're out. Nope, not over there. You just shoot until you're out of freaking paintball.
Out of paintball, man. That was fun.
we were doing like warfare, like teaming up and freaking like 4 people just on one guy, just freaking unloading. The key is at that point to let everybody else on the other team unload as much as possible, right?
Yeah.
And then when they get down to where they're about done, everybody on your team had the full, full load, and you just go over there and freaking spray a bunch of them.
Yeah, that was fun, man. And then the way they built fence.
It was with the bull, the dig holes with the bowl in the sand.
2 guys, man. I hate to be the guy with the bowl, like a little tiny kitchen pot, dipping out sand. I'm like, man, good thing this ground's not hard, man.
Yeah, no joke. I mean, I get, that like they don't just have a bunch of skid steers over there, but like some,
they got some nice classic trucks though.
Yeah,
they have that.
They do have that.
But I mean, post hole diggers or something.
Yeah, I know. Like, you think that like post hole diggers, I mean, we're in the 21st century.
Yeah.
I would think that even in a place like that, I know they have it. They built the entire city in freaking like overnight. But the guys are digging holes with bulls. and then the guys that were like in the bathroom and the people that were feeding us, and like they weren't allowed to do, like, that was it. That was their job. Those one guys that we like asked to eat with us and everything, and the next day they weren't there because
Yeah,
they
yeah,
weren't allowed to eat with us
yeah.
because I guess they were just in that class and they were not
Work.
allowed to
Yeah,
get
they're
out of it.
kind of crappy jobs.
Man, that's
Yeah,
crazy. When you think about America, like you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity. You can kind of make something of yourself.
yeah.
Over in those countries, that's not even a thing. Like,
You just
like
kind of,
you are what you were born into, pretty much.
yeah, just do what your father did.
But they have the money. I mean,
Yeah,
the family is, I mean, freaking from what I heard, like rich, like $1 trillion,
yeah,
like that oil money. But so they can build a city overnight, which makes you wonder why they don't have more Riyads and places over there.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's crazy. It's wild.
I know like Dubai, like they over there, like
Yeah,
everything, like they pretty much did that. I mean, what they have over there, you can't have over there outside of money. Like they have golf courses and everything that are like
yeah,
some of the nicest golf courses in the world
yeah. I never
in
been
the
to Dubai,
desert.
but I feel like that'd be a pretty cool place to go to. Dubai, you know. But
Yeah, that was a pretty cool experience. I remember I think I got currency for Kylie when I was over there. I tried
yeah,
to get her a bunch of different kinds. So I got Germany, Saudi, since it was a festival, all of those Stanian countries and stuff. So I got her all of this thing, and then I was thinking about it when I got back, and she plays with it all. I'm like, man, because she's saving up her money now,
yeah,
and she's got a little bit of cash. And I'm like, man, she has just enough money to be poor in like 8 different countries, which is probably what I'm gonna be if she decides she wants to be a barrel racer.
yeah. No, maybe she'll just go to Stillborn and buy a cheap horse and
I
then
I hope she
bam.
just learns to be a good horseman, maybe train horses, something like that.
That'd be a better option.
Maybe she'll have this dream that she's gonna buy a staleborn horse and just train it into a, world champion barrel horse, something like that.
I mean, it could happen.
Possible. Probably not.
Possible.
The best part of that trip was in the airplane before we
Oh
landed.
yeah. Whenever we landed, I was like, man, because it was a long flight already,
It was.
and get there, and everybody's getting out their headphones, and it's like this biggest plane I've ever been on my life, like huge, and like how many was it? About 15 of us,
Yeah, there was. Yeah, probably.
and it was
They're
like,
pretty empty too,
yeah,
for as many seats as there were.
it's crazy. Like all of us had 3 seats for ourselves. Like
Yeah, yeah,
pretty
a whole
good.
row. You could just sleep in a row.
Yeah,
But I mean, that's because he was going over to Saudi Arabia.
yeah, not a whole lot of people. And then I go, and then she's taking up the headphones and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. About to get off. Finally here. I'm excited and ready to get off this flight. Packing up my headphones, and then she's coming down now. And then I was like, here you go, ma'am. She's like, oh, you keep those. We're heading to Africa. I'm like, I'm already. Like, this is my stop, ma'am. I was like, yeah.
And the passport, you never went anywhere
Yeah.
without it.
Man, because what made me do that is whenever the festival finally started,
Uh-huh.
and Giuliano,
Yep.
was there, and we took the bus over to the arena because a bunch of us got a bus like running like so many times a day, back
Yep.
and forth. So all of us get up there on the bus, and then when the festival starts, they got the guys standing there at the entrance with the AK-47s. We try to go in, and then he stops the bus. They're talking in like Arabic or whatever, and the guy gets on the bus, and they always seem so aggressive. And then our driver from the Philippines, which is interesting, and they're like, he's like, no, American, all American. And then the guy with AK-47 says, anybody not American? Giuliano sticks his hand up, Brazil. And they're like arguing back and forth, Filipino driver guy and the guy AK-47. And I'm like, see, Giuliano's almost getting us killed right here. Just say you're American, man.
Just say you're American.
They don't
He
understand.
came from America.
Yeah.
And he actually was able to speak a little bit more with the Egyptians because over the Egyptians being over in Egypt, I guess it's more of a like a the city kind of where it's at, more of a market city. So
Yeah.
they know a lot of different languages. So they were able to speak Spanish and I believe a little bit of Portuguese.
Yeah.
And I know Giuliano, obviously, Portuguese and Spanish is close enough where they can kind of communicate.
Yeah. I wish I could speak Portuguese or something.
Yeah,
Well, I can't.
No, I for a second, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this. Didn't last very long. I'm like, this is a lot of work. I don't know that I want to invest this much time into learning another language.
I know Gaha. That means try hard, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's what they say.
Yeah, that was wild. And the Egyptians, that was kind of cool though. Like, you know, they would make us tea and coffee every day.
Man, there's never been another time in my life where I drank so much hot tea.
Yeah,
Ever.
yeah, that's no
Like,
joke.
just hot tea and then some kind of off-brand Red Bull energy drink. It was like commissary.
And we would store it up because at the beginning it was like you had to ration. Like
Yeah.
we didn't realize that we weren't going to get just supplied
Yeah.
like
And be
snacks
able
and
to go
stuff.
to the store down the street.
And the food we were eating, like I don't know if it was camel balls or what we were eating, but it was not good.
Yeah,
Like
some goat and then
some
animal. But we ate a lot of
meatballs. No, they're not meatballs.
Yeah.
Maybe
But
goat testicles or something like that.
at the end of every night, after the end of the bull riding every night, we just go to the off-brand In and Out.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know their
yeah.
copyright laws, but I feel like something's off. Instead of Red Bull, it's like Bull Red.
Yeah, it tasted just like it. They did a
Identical.
good job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with like the fast food. I'm like, man, tastes identical, but I mean, it's just
And maybe a little bit better. Like when we did go to Riyadh, the food was better.
yeah. The McDonald's are definitely better.
Yeah, the McDonald's was good, but I guess over there they're not like over here. It's just pure quantity. It's just how much can we put out there outside of ice cream. It seems like their machines are already always broken, but outside of that, it's just how much can you produce. And over there, they
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they get quite a bit in that mall, but in Riyadh, but not near enough. So I'm sure it's all.
Yeah, I mean, what's different was every time we went out in like a large group with our hats on and stuff, people don't take pictures; they take videos.
Yeah.
So that took a little used to get used to. But yeah, that was kind of odd. I was like, yeah.
Well, and the people that were following us at every single location, I don't know if they were like,
yeah,
they either like were for us and like they knew who we were and they were like our security, or they weren't our security, but definitely in every place, and they were definitely following us.
yeah, like some secret security, something like that. Like, man, that is odd though. Like, you'll be in town, and then probably about 3 days later, or the next day, you'll see the same guy like 50 miles away, just walking past you randomly. I'm like,
that's not normal.
No.
And I don't, it really doesn't matter whether, because even if they are your own personal security, it does make you wonder, why do you need personal security? Like, how safe are we? Like that trip that was just like, hey, we got a surprise trip out into the desert. Now, logic tells me, where are we going on this surprise trip in a country that I've never been to,
Yeah. Man,
where there's not a whole lot of sightseeing out in the desert. It could have been perfect. It could have been like the coolest thing we would have ever done. But wisdom told me, let's not make that trip out into the desert that we don't know where we're going.
And man, at that point, it was toward the end of the trip, and like tensions were high, and like a lot already was going on. People weren't happy, and now all of a sudden, people are like, "What? Nobody knew he was here." And then now, let's say we're going on a surprise trip.
Go surprise trip. All in all, though, it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
it was
I would definitely go back. I mean, pay me more, but
it wasn't. Yeah,
maybe not right now. Maybe in about a year or two. Maybe.
Yeah, especially now because that was during like we missed. I guess we only missed two or three events because we went to Jacksonville. We drove to Jacksonville, rode at Jacksonville, Florida, flew to Saudi, and then flew back to Dayton. Yeah, because you got KO'd in Dayton.
Yeah, man, that was the worst. I was like, man, I don't know. When I got on that bull, I asked some people. I was like, hey, you know this bull? They said you've been on him. They said, like, no, I don't remember him at all. And then after I got knocked out on him, everybody was like, "Oh, yeah, man, I totally remember that bull."
I don't. Yeah, I remember Brady because Brady was there, and he was like, "Man, I don't even know why he brings him because he KOs everybody, and you're gonna be like 84.5 if you ride him."
Yeah,
I'll never forget that because if you type in Keys Hall PBR on YouTube, like that's the first thing that comes up.
Yeah, the absolutely first.
That was the rankest knockout I've ever seen in my entire life.
Only thing I remember is the bull going left, and I was like, "Oh yeah!" And then next thing you know, I'm sitting in the locker room talking to Casey, and then the sports medicine guy peeking his head around the corner and asking me if I'm okay.
Yeah, and you were like, "Yeah, I feel fine. I feel like I could get on again." He's like, "Yeah, you go run up that flight of stairs and then tell me that."
I was like, "No way." But they said that I was trying to They were
Oh
trying
yeah,
to put me on the board.
you freaking were screaming like
Yeah.
like so when you got KO'd like General, it goes completely dead silence,
Yeah.
and I kind of chuckled a little bit because it was
Good
it
friend.
was a classic KO, and and everybody was silent like the entire pin drop silence because you're just laying there. And then you come back to, and the sportsman's over there, and all of a sudden you just flip out. I mean, just out of the north, you're cussing at them, swinging, you're trying to fight.
Yeah.
Everybody that knows you, like that, like it was almost like you were like in the midst of battle, and that's what you came out of. Like it's like you were coming out of
Yeah.
war. Like
Man, I don't remember any of that. Like I told doing like I think that's his name, the sportsman's
doing,
guy.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's who it was.
I was like, man, sorry, that's not me. I remember talking on the phone like the Monday, him calling me and asking me was I okay, and I was like, yeah, man. I was like, man, I'm sorry, that's not me. He's like, oh no, I understand. He said, but you do it again, you gonna open another hat. And I was like,
He's like, if we weren't on TV, I would have strapped your ass to that.
I wonder how it really would have went. Then he would have tried to strap me down.
Dude, you were going nuts.
Dude,
Sometimes I wish that was the case because once they get you on that board, man, it's hell trying to get them off.
yeah,
Like I got,
and you got to go then, don't
yeah,
you? Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. I got strapped down. Was it last year or the year before? And when I came back to where I knew where I was, they were getting ready to put me into the
Was that
ambulance.
Reno?
No, it was after Reno. It was I
You got strapped
Grant.
down in
Was it
Reno
was
too.
it Grand Rapids?
I wasn't there.
Reno. I was out for like
Yeah,
10 minutes.
he was out for a minute, and then they put you in the deal, took you to the hospital, and I had to go get you. And I remember on the way back, we got pulled over, and we had Kevin, the PR guy, with
Okay.
us. And we got pulled over there in like downtown Reno. You couldn't find your insurance stuff and everything. And I was like, oh man, I bet the guys in the back seat was like, oh man, I'm never coming to these bull rides again. I didn't even do nothing wrong.
I don't.
Just stop me.
I just remember that time waking up, and it was like I don't know, 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and I looked down at my arm. I was in bed.
So,
Looked down at my arm and saw the IV mark, and I was like, crap. They took me to the hospital. And then I woke you up to try to get you to play PUBG because I don't know why, but when you get KO'd like that, it's like you had a perfect night's sleep. So it's like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'm wide awake.
yeah, that was a long trip too, man.
Yeah, that was really because we were in Oakland the weekend before, so we drove to
Yeah.
Oakland, Reno, and then back home, something like that.
Yeah, stayed in Reno for a week.
A week,
And
yeah.
back home, going through, then we went through like Salt Lake City. Did we do that on the way back?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I remember going through there, it was snowing and like just us and then semi trucks coming around these curves. I'm not scared.
Yeah, me too.
That was a trip.
Yeah, that KO though, that was one of the worst.
Yeah. I don't know.
But Dayton, man, that was wild.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think Dayton just looked bad. What really one of the knockouts that really scared me is when we was in I think Great Falls, Montana.
Oh,
I had Black Bull stepped on my face because the week before I got hit in the head, but I didn't get knocked out. I was surprised. I was still awake. This bull like stomped in the back of my head on my face. And the next week we go to Montana for those 2 deals, and this Black Bull come back running right up on himself, start backing up, kind of pull me down on his head, knocking me out. And he was spinning and then floated back on top of me, stomping on my chest.
Yep.
And then I remember when that woke me up, and I could not stop shaking, but I knew everything what was going on.
Oh, we were back there like because not sports med, it would have just been the ambulance
Yeah,
people.
the EMT people.
Yeah, the EMT people were like trying to get you, and I was I was videoing it, and Casey's like, man, leave him alone. He gets knocked out all the time.
I was like, that blood coming out from my face. You had your phone in my face. And then Casey was like, get off of him. And I'm like, oh my goodness, man. I just want to go home. I was scared to go to sleep on the way back.
I think I made a TikTok, and it was like, that's not when the lights go out
Yeah,
in Georgia.
that's when that deal all started with them playing that music, and it was like perfect timing.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like,
What's that song that they play?
Reba McEntire or something.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Every time you get on now, just about.
Yeah.
Well, it's only when I forget who it is that.
Brad Oducci, I think.
Yeah, when
Or-
he is.
Turns out
doing
he's
the
got a
sound.
brother.
Oh,
that,
really?
That looked just like him. Remember? We talked about it last weekend. We're in Pennsylvania because Zane said it.
Huh.
Yeah.
He's cool though. He's actually pretty funny.
Yeah. I just don't like that song.
Yeah, he plays it every time, though.
Every time, man.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
well.
that was the. I don't know. Was that a couple weekends later when I messed up my knee?
I think so.
Dude, that was man. That was the weirdest thing when I came off that bull and freaking my leg collapsed on me like that.
Yeah.
I thought I dislocated it just the way it was.
Yeah, man. But been pretty good this year.
Yeah,
Haven't been really.
I've been pretty healthy.
Yeah, I have bruised ribs and
Yeah,
that's about it.
everything's feeling pretty good now.
Better, a lot better. I can lay on my side, just not for long, but feel pretty good. And the bull that did it, they rode him last night, man. For some reason, I don't like
That was one of Jesse Dick's, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
There was 87.
Huh.
They won.
Did they run around on him?
Yeah.
It was Chase Weiner. Weimer.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. Whenever I see somebody ride a bull that I've been on that bucks me off, I'm like, oh, I just feel that big. Like, man, I know I can ride him.
Yeah, unless they're just like super ranked.
Yeah, unless they're like 45 and stuff like that.
It's like I remember getting on. It was like a futurity and his bruiser. I believe it was his first out, like in competition, because the futurity and Nathan Lowe actually won that event. That was in Arkansas, so this would have been a while back. And then I remember I got on him, and then that year, JB was like 94.5 on him at the World Finals.
That's different.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, okay, makes sense. Well, at that point, I sucked. I couldn't ride anything into my hand for sure, because I had only been riding like a year.
Yeah. I remember when you wanted to get on a
Taxman.
That was scary. Looking back at it now, man, oh my God.
It's much worse.
Yeah. If he would have
gotten
said
worse over the years. At the time, I didn't think anything of it.
Man, if he would have never said no and let you got on him in the bud, imagine you probably would have to have face surgery.
Probably.
The helmet. Did you have a helmet on then?
I don't know, because that would have been right around the time where I was wearing that old goose hat.
So I mean, it depends, but it's still with just an old style hockey helmet.
Yeah, if I was wearing a helmet at that point, it would just been a hockey helmet. Yeah. Cool, because heck, 100X's didn't even come out until later.
You just had Bull Tough.
Bull Tough, yeah. And I didn't even have one of those.
Yeah, so just hockey helmet.
It would have been a hockey helmet or a helmet or a hat.
Yeah, man, that would have been bad.
Yeah, especially the hockey helmets back then. They weren't detached, so it was like attached to your chin.
And you just slip them right off your face and stuff.
My first rodeo ever was at Troy.
Yeah.
And I'd been on I'd probably been on 9 practice bulls, and it was probably the worst knockout. Well, one of the worst knockouts I've ever had, or worst concussions. And it was that helmet, and I got on a bull, and I guess they had been like 89 on him a few times, and that bull freaking whooped me down, and then whooped me down again, and split my chin open, and it was the bars, because those chin, it's not detached, so those bars, like once they get through that little tiny bit of padding,
all it is foam.
Yeah, so once you get hit hard enough, and those bars just go straight into you. So for the longest time, I had like this, cross on my freaking chin.
Yeah.
From that, and I had like temporary amnesia for 3 days. I just kept repeating.
I remember when that bull came down on your head at Zane still.
Okay, so that's wild.
Yeah, that was dangerous.
That was if I would have been wearing a hat, it probably would have killed me. Oh yeah. It came down straight down on my temple. Like I have the picture of the helmet still, and it came straight down on my temple, ripped my helmet off. All I remember is like being up in the chute and looking over, and Dakota Eagleburger is in the chutes with me. And Dakota don't just jump out into the arena like that. I mean, unless it's bad. And he was right there. And then the next night was the ABBI Classic in Wichita.
Yeah.
And that was when I got my first 100X, because they're a lifesaver. Chris, I got a hold of Chris. I'm like, look, my helmet got destroyed. And they're in Kansas City, so they're not far. And he's like, well, I'll be in Wichita. I can get you a helmet tomorrow. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Rodeo Wagon Podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you go to your app store and download Western Edge app. It's there that you can check out all of the cool businesses. You can get connected to rodeos near you, and you can find cowboy hats, kind of like our sponsor, Sombrero brand, Cowboy's Finest. They make sweet hats. Got this one right here, the hand. Next one I get is going to be a modified Gus. Check their hats out. They're quality made in the USA, made in Texas. And also, make sure you go to westernedgeapp.com. You can get set up with one of these cool hats and some more merch that's coming along the way. Hope you're enjoying the podcast, and we'll see you here in a minute. There we go. Yeah, so the next night we were in Wichita, and that was an ABBI Classic, and the bull I drew, I was pretty pumped about it. It was the bull Quentin. So Quentin won Decatur on him, but only got to stay on one, like, I don't know, 20 grand. Yeah. And that was the bull, went away from my hand. I was pumped about it, but I still was not all there. And that first round, he freaking pancaked me on my back and freaking KO'd me. And it's weird because, like, Kelly, she was not happy because I'm still kind of out of it. And so I wouldn't go out to see her, but they wouldn't let her into the locker room. So I finally got out there. What's crazy about that is on Monday, I'm like, Kelly, I think I probably should go to the hospital. Like, my feet were kind of getting like numb, and I was, losing some feeling in my toes. So I went to the hospital, and at that point, the ER guy, he just saw it, oh, this kid. And then he went and did a CT scan, and he came back in. He's like, man, so I'm gonna refer you to a brain person in St. Louis. He said, I've never seen anybody with the amount of bleeding you had on your brain not go into a coma. So it was was certainly bad enough. I'm glad I went in, but it wasn't like a continuous bleed because I went in when I went to wherever that's at in St. Louis. He was like, it's like, you're good, He's like, you should probably stop, But he was saying that not because it was.
Yeah, so every time you go to a doctor, I mean, they're looking at it as like you're already crazy for doing it. But I wonder, excuse me, in like the next uh about 20 years or so, how the studies of like bull riders will be like about the brain. Because in boxing, like they get shakes real bad. Some guys, uh, they get knocked out one time and then it like kind of mess with them their whole career.
Yeah.
Where they can't really talk, form sentences. They shake, their eyes shake all the time.
Yeah, some guys get knocked out a bunch. Travis Pastrana, I think they said he has like over 40 or 50 confirmed concussions and still as bright as a. But he said he knows guys at one time messes with them for the rest of their lives.
So I wonder like how that would work for like bull riders. But I mean, helmets came a long way. And then now we got even the PBR putting in those rules, I don't know. I think, man, some guys just love riding with their hat.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of equipment, what do you got in your rigging bag?
Well, I
know the 100X is something you have.
Yeah, 100X, man, probably something that I'm obsessed with. These right here, my Spurs. They're a lot different from what normally, just because.
Oh, your Rows or your Spurs?
My Spurs. Well, even the Rouse too. But the Spurs, how they're such an angled and they're short. I thought at first I wouldn't like these, but man, this past summer I just switched back to my older ones just to kind of see how they are. And man, I felt like my feet were bouncing all the time, and like my leg was never touching the bull, but I could feel my feet touching.
Are these 2-inch?
I have no idea. I called Sling and Shank. I said, "Hey, I seen a pair that Andrew Averdress had," and I was like, "Make me exact same."
Same ones. I did the same thing with my rope, not this rope, but with one of my ropes with Kyler Oliver. I'm like, hey, I tried his rope out, loved it. Make me the same one.
And then like these deals that goes around the heel, oh my goodness, man!
They need to make more of them.
Yes, and like man, I remember when I used to use wire, so aggravating.
Yeah, and they break. Yeah. Oh, there's nothing worse than your freaking spur breaking while you're riding. Yeah. Especially if it's your inside. If it's your outside, it just makes you use it more. But the inside, that's rough. And
then the boot ties, man. I used to have lace ups, and then I started riding with cowboy boots, and then these right here are way better than I think. Well, for me, anyways, regular boot ties, But
and these are the new rails that the PBO came out with. I still haven't used them.
I feel like, man, in theory. So this is my theory on it. I feel like there's more surface area to grab. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Contact, but also, I mean, for other reasons, I feel like I don't know if they grab that good. I don't know, man. I can't tell the difference.
You can't tell the difference, yeah.
And I think, man, now the routes are the same. It's not like you're certain. I mean,
They're pretty much the same. Maybe more surface area. I could see the logic behind that.
but I do know other routes that the PBR did look.
Yeah.
It would grab.
Rodeo rails? Yeah. Yeah, no joke. I bet you look at Denton Fugate's routes.
Oh yeah, and they don't look that aggressive at all. They look like something like.
You use the right rowel on a stitch body.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's what I had.
You don't need to nod your head with your rope.
I've never been whipped down so many times. Been with that, like that time in Springfield. What that one?
You got whipped down twice on the first bull. Split your chin open, and the guy came up to you and he's like, Keith, that was the grittiest, most cowboy ride I've ever seen. Me and Jeremiah looked at each other and said, he couldn't have got off that bull if he wanted to.
I had the inside and the bull on me, and all the pressure was on that leg. I could not get out of there. Like I was looking off. I just for some reason I did not grab my tail. I don't know why. Maybe I was just too dumb, or just it was going so fast that.
Well, you weren't too dumb on that time. You were too dumb on the second to get on your short rounder and grab your rope again. And that he was long out there, made that corner, and did KO you.
And that was Jeremiah.
Yeah.
He was like, man, don't be a little girl. Get on. And he kept saying, he was like, man, come on. You came all the way here. Just get on.
And he wasn't even riding. He wasn't even riding.
Oh, blood coming from my mouth, and my helmet's all bent from the bull just hit me in the face. And I'm like, I really don't want to get on. But then, like that mentality, that cowboy mentality, I was like, all right, do whatever it takes, get on them.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, that's good, but sometimes you got to know when to stop.
Well, and I think too, like with the PBR nowadays, the whole concussion thing. Like there's a time when, like you're not, you shouldn't be getting on because you're not all there. Like Wichita, honestly, if they would have known what happened to me the day before, they would have never let me get on. And I shouldn't have, So I think that's where kind of the PBR has done a good job, kind of protecting guys on wasting their time, money, and their body,
Yeah, I mean, it sucks when it happens. They pull you off, especially when you got a good one.
But we did take your winnings and buy dinner, and it was good.
That was kind of messed up. I remember Jeremiah coming down the hallway. I was in my hospital room, and Jeremiah come down the hallway saying, "You kidnapped my best friend. Give him." He's like, "Where's he? Give him to me."
And then we're like, "Is there anything we can do?" And you're just like, "Soup. I just want some soup." And so we're like, "We'll go find you some soup."
And my mouth was throbbing, bro, and I could not hardly talk. My chin was this big. And then the next day, we go to that little deal. And
oh yeah, it was freezing cold.
That was terrible.
Yeah, that was, and we drove like 4 hours there too. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. And the 100X. So 100X, I remember it was 2015 at NFPB finals, and they had like a little bus there. And at that time, all they had was like this little prototype. It wasn't even a real helmet, and they were just now starting to advertise.
That when it first came around, like man, you kind of didn't know if it was gonna work because, like, man, here's the deal with bull riding. Like, there's been fads of helmets. Like, I remember the Bull Toughs, and then something happened with their company,
Invincible.
Then it was like, there's another one just like Invincible.
Oh, Bullhead. Yep.
And then 100X rolls around. You're like, man, this company come and go, but 100X has actually stayed.
Yeah, they've really, and I think, and I don't know how it all works, but I'm pretty sure that the Invincible, I don't know if Chris was part of the Invincible, and then they kind of, I don't know what happened there, but they went into the 100X, and I know it's the most tested, probably. As far as taking a hit, like, getting stepped on or something there's no helmet out there. Like, if you get stepped on in the head, I'm confident I can get freaking stomped on in the head and just be good.
Yeah. I am too. I just don't want to try.
I mean, but if it happens, I mean, and you've seen it happen multiple times.
I definitely feel a whole lot safer now.
Yeah.
I mean, I had that bull tough for years, and I mean, I've been hit in the face. It never broke the cage, but just getting stepped on one time on the side, it broke it and busted.
And I think the shell's made to break, so I think it does. But at the same time, like, you can just tell, like, I mean, it's built for hockey, and it's like Tandy's always saying, this is a collision sport, not a contact sport.
I was watching a lacrosse game the other day, just sitting in the hotel, and came up with this theory that lacrosse is just hockey. just you running around. But the same helmets, and everything. I'm like, man, we're getting hit a whole lot harder than that.
Yeah.
I mean, these 100X, I definitely feel a whole lot safer. I want to get a matte black one. I feel like that would feel cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know they do a bunch of different cool designs and stuff. You can kind of pick and choose what you want. But, all right. Heck yeah, well, let's get ready for this event. Man, we'll do it again. Next weekend we go to Hampton, Virginia, so maybe we'll do some of them while we're driving.
Yeah, have a bunch of guys with us.
Yeah, 3 o'clock in the morning when everybody's half asleep, and you don't know where a conversation's going to go when you have a group of bull riders at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and if Dakota's driving, you know for a fact that everybody will be awake because it's probably going to be 15 degrees, and he's going to have the driver window all the way down.
they drive better than you, though. I'd rather be a little cold and almost die.
We like to live on the edge, Sometimes you just got to live on the edge, Keith.
Not runs out.
All right. Thanks for joining in, guys. We'll see you later, man.